One thing you were saying there, about Trinity and about CIT. I remember one of my first days in UCC, I think I might have done the MSAP or something. One of the first experiences on campus, they were actually doing the election campaign for the Students' Union. And it was like walking through an American teen movie. I was looking at these young ones and young fellas, I was like, what the fuck is going on? It was like a totally new world to me. And then all these slogans, rolling with all and vote number one, and I was like, oh my god.
I remember looking at them out in the CIT when they were doing the votes and stuff, and they were getting up on top of the stage, and there might have been about 1,500 students watching them inside in the canteen, and I was saying, how is he up there talking in front of, like, I didn't have that kind of confidence.
But you know, when we were younger, we thought they were fucking Egypts.
Yeah.
And you know what, they're the people that run the country.
Yeah.
And you know, if I look at the young people in UCC today, they have the best parties, they have the best social life, they come out with good jobs. But when we were that age, we just thought that they were losers. And that was the relationship we had with UCC. And if we walk through UCC when you're 16, 17, security's coming on to move you out of it, thinks you're robbing bikes and stuff like that, which probably
well, they
sometimes
wouldn't have been
we
wrong either.
there's always a bit of truth in the stereotype, isn't there?
You had to get money to feed the habit somewhere, like. That's how it was.
Yeah.
But can I ask you a little bit now? So you went through Trinity.
Yeah.
You didn't just go through Trinity. You were the president of the Students' Union.
I was.
And out of that, you were elected to Shannon.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about your experience, maybe your first few days in the Shannon? Were you confident going in there, or did confidence grow as you went along?
Yeah, I think I've always been quite good at faking for a period of time until it feels natural, you know. So people are always quite shocked when they realise that I've probably spent a couple of months having to, like, you know, like being a bit exhausted after a few months because I've been like mentally kind of focused on going, I'm grand at this, I'm good at this, and nobody can really tell that I'm like scared, or, you know. And I suppose in Trinity, the first time I felt quite scared was the getting up and talking and asking for votes. Like, I was like, why, how can I ask somebody to vote for me? It nearly felt like shame. And I'm like, why do I feel shame asking someone to vote for me? And it was like asking people to have like confidence in me, to believe in me, and it all, to be honest, a part of me was kind of rejecting that, and I was kind of like, I'm not fucking need you, like, do you know what I mean? Why are you asking anyone for that for? You don't fucking even need to do that, you know what I mean? So it's like I was asking them for something for nothing, like, you know, with me handout or something, and it was an election, and everyone else bigging themselves up, and I'm like, what's wrong with me? I'm struggling with this. And I had never publicly spoke to that many people, like, because it could be anything from like 400 people in a lecture hall, you know. And I remember being rattling inside, and after the first day, my campaign manager, who was from Crumlin and came through the Access programme with me, there was only about 3 of us in the campaign. By the end of it, everyone had dropped their candidates and joined their campaign. But at the start, like, I would literally, my stomach, I would have the runs for days at the thought of even, oh God, I have to go and talk now, and I have pains up my neck. And then the third day, I think it was, into the campaign, there's like this big kind of speech out on the dining hall steps, and it's out in front square. And Rob said, right, let's go over your speech. And I says, no, I'm just going to go tell it on them. And he's like, I don't know what that means. And I'm like, I'm just going to go tell it on them. Like, I'm just going to go community worker and tell it on them. At the end of the day, this is a community, isn't it? Like, aspirations are aspirations, and whether you're upper class or working class, there is certain things that people want, and I just need to go up and talk about that. And I went up and I just dropped the idea of having to try and talk about these policies or what I was going to do for Trinity or and I just spoke about community, and I spoke about equality and diversity and inclusion and what that means, and that just spoke to so many people, because whether you were disabled, or, you know, whether you had a disability, whether you were, you know, on the autism spectrum, or whether you were a migrant student, or whether you were, you know, there because you travelled from some other European country to be there was something about in the speech that I gave that kind of pulled everybody in, which was really quite empowering. So that was the kind of most frightened I felt, was the first day or two before I kind of just relaxed and was me. I think I was rejecting who I was the first 2 days, trying to sound like the other candidates or something, and that made me feel really ill. And then when I went into the Senate, it was hard. It was actually harder than going into Trinity for some reason, because it's so much more concentrated and there's cameras on you all the time. I didn't know if I could stop coursing for long enough to actually do a speech. I didn't know how I was going to dress.
Yeah, I've seen you on the channel before wearing your Air Max and showing your tattoos, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
You know,
I definitely had to push that. You know.
Yeah, is it a hard thing to do that? Like.
Yeah, it was, because people are commenting on the first day or two. They're so used to it. Like, a suit is not my uniform. Do you know what I mean? And I kind of think, like, people wearing suits, that's okay. They're comfortable in that, but. Like, the idea that people should wear suits in work, or women should wear particular types of kind of work looking dresses or trouser suits, where did that come from? Like, you know, it's not what I wear on a day-to-day basis. It's not what I wear and what I'm comfortable in. And, you know, I really had to push back against that. And I arrived in my first day to speak in the Shannon. Now, we'd been in for a while the programme of government was being, but I arrived in like this, it was really sunny. And I arrived in this little like summer dress with all my tattoos out, but it was quite short as well, so it meant all my leg tattoos were shown as well. So I was just like, just fucking go in and embrace it. And there was a couple of comments, and you can see like that people are just not used to it in there, you know. And I think, but it kind of they got used to it. You know, and I remember telling the story before, but I had like this reoccurring dream for about 2 or 3 nights that I bought this like Tommy Hilfiger suit in Grafton Street, and I was like navy, and it's not something I would wear, like, and in the dream I kept putting it on and going in to speak for my maiden speech in the Shannon, and I kept turning into Mickey Mouse fleecy pajamas. Every time I stood up to speak, and I'd run back to the office to try and put the suit back on, but every time I spoke, and this kept happening, and I was like, and that was kind of like the sign to me, Jesus Lynn, is there something subconscious going on here? Are you afraid to speak? You know, are you afraid that you're going to stand out, or your accent? Sometimes I get words completely wrong, you know, and I've had to embrace that. You know, at first I used to get embarrassed, like when someone would try and correct me word, where now I just say, yeah, did you know what I meant? So like, fuck off, like, why are you correcting me for? Like, do you know what I mean? So now I had to work hard to embrace that my dialect, and go, do you know what, there's some words that I say that you know the meaning of, I know the meaning of, I say them differently, you know, and I'm not going to reject that part of me, you know. And but what's funny is, like, you know, Seb, my assistant, would write speeches for me sometimes, like if I'm too busy, or if it's not a subject that I feel that I can do justice to just speak and like just ad lib on, he would write, but sometimes he puts in words and I'm like, I get to it in the middle of the speech and I go, oh my God, what is that? What is that word? And you can say it in your head because you're used to reading it, but you've never ever said it in a conversation. So actually, you're not really sure how it's pronounced. And like them moments, like I've had to kind of just laugh off, you know. But so
was there ever times that you felt like you had to be like the other people in the Shannon, that you had to behave in their way and speak like them?
Yeah, you know? And I definitely, there's definitely times where I have had to kind of really talk to myself. But I even got that in Trinity. Like, I remember writing an economics essay once and going home before I handed it in and reading over it and going, that is the most conservative fucking essay I have ever written. What's going on? And I had to scrap it and remind myself that I'm being taught in an institution that has taught in a conservative or a right-wing economics. You know, it's not social economics. It doesn't take into, you know, it's very clinical. It's, you know, so there's times where you have to kind of catch yourself going, Jesus, I didn't know I was after being conditioned a little bit there, or I'm after picking up a behaviour, or I'm after, you know, but my friends are quick to pull me up on it, you know.